There's something quietly rebellious about the idea of the Microlino, and by 2027, that rebellion feels even more relevant. While the rest of the auto industry continues chasing size, range figures, and performance benchmarks, the 2027 Microlino leans in the opposite direction. It doesn't pretend to be a small car. It embraces being something else entirely, closer to a mobility solution than a traditional vehicle. And that distinction matters. Spending time researching what the latest evolution of the Microlino represents, you begin to realize it's less about driving pleasure in the conventional sense and more about frictionless movement through urban life. It's not trying to replace your family SUV or your weekend sports car. It's designed to solve a very specific problem: daily city transport without the excess. At first glance, it still carries that unmistakable bubble-like silhouette. Retro, yes, but not in a nostalgic, gimmicky way. The front opening door remains its signature feature, and in tight urban environments, it's actually more practical than it looks. Parallel parking becomes less of a maneuver and more of a slide-in moment. Inside, the 2027 version seems to refine the minimalism rather than fight it. There's no attempt to imitate larger EVs with oversized displays or unnecessary tech layers. Instead, the cabin feels intentionally simple, not stripped down, but focused. You get what you need, nothing more. And honestly, that restraint is refreshing. In an era where even compact EVs are beginning to feel like rolling tablets, the Microlino avoids becoming another tech showcase. The materials appear improved compared to earlier versions, slightly more premium, slightly more durable, but still aligned with the car's philosophy of efficiency. Where the 2027 Microlino really makes sense is in motion. This isn't a vehicle you drive aggressively. It encourages smooth inputs, measured pace, and awareness of space. It thrives in stop-and-go environments, narrow lanes, short trips, predictable routes. In that context, its modest electric powertrain feels appropriate rather than limiting. And that brings us to its strongest point: purpose clarity. The Microlino knows exactly what it is. It doesn't chase highway dominance or long-distance touring credibility. It focuses on being easy, accessible, and unintimidating in crowded urban settings. For dense cities, the kind where parking is scarce and traffic is constant, it solves problems that even larger EVs struggle with. Running costs are naturally low, charging is simple, and the overall footprint makes it feel less like operating a vehicle and more like managing personal mobility. But that focus comes with trade-offs. The Microlino's biggest weakness is also built into its DNA: versatility. Outside its ideal environment, tight city grids, it begins to feel out of place. High-speed roads expose its limitations quickly. It's not uncomfortable, but it's clear that this isn't where it belongs. Stability and confidence taper off as speeds climb, and longer journeys demand more patience than most drivers are willing to give. In markets where infrastructure or driving culture leans toward longer commutes or mixed road types, that narrow usability could restrict its appeal. Yet there's an interesting detail about the 2027 version that stands out. Rather than attempting to grow into a real car, it seems to double down on being a lifestyle tool. New customization options and subtle usability tweaks suggest Microlino isn't chasing mass adoption, it's cultivating a niche. This feels less like a product aimed at replacing traditional vehicles and more like a companion to them. Think of it as an urban specialist rather than an all-rounder. And from a market perspective, that's a clever position. The EV space is becoming crowded with compact crossovers and small hatchbacks, all promising similar things: decent range, moderate performance, practical interiors. The Microlino sidesteps that competition entirely by not playing the same game. It's not competing with entry-level EVs. It's competing with congestion, parking stress, and the everyday hassle of city life. There's also a subtle emotional layer to the Microlino that's hard to ignore. Its proportions and design invite curiosity rather than intimidation. It doesn't project status or performance. It projects approachability. In a way, it humanizes electric mobility. That may sound abstract, but in cities where vehicles often feel like barriers between people and space, a smaller, softer presence changes the dynamic. Still, the Microlino won't be for everyone. Drivers looking for flexibility, range confidence, or multi-purpose capability will likely find it too specialized. But for those whose driving patterns align with its strengths, it could make traditional city commuting feel unnecessarily complicated by comparison. And that's where its true value lies, not in trying to be everything, but in being exactly enough for the environment it was built for.